Welcome back to Anderson Acres. We are here with little baby vodka, big girl tequila, and half-shaved buddy whiskey, who doesn't want me to shave his tummy, so we're working on it. And today we're going to be talking about skills that you maybe want to teach your livestock guardian, but may not apply to your situation. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about how to do these things. I'm just going to talk about what you might want to teach your dog. Okay? Tequila, where are you going? Check on the bunnies? Okay. The little tiny vodka, 8 weeks old, hasn't been on camera much. So, things you might want to teach him. We're going to follow Tequila. Probably going to go dig in the sand, because we love digging in the sand. But things you might want to teach your pup. So, one of the things you might want to do is leash training. Not everyone does it, but I actually do a whole video on leash training. I'll link to it in the video description. But leash training is important. It may not apply. What are you doing, Tequila? May not apply to your specific situation. So think about whether or not you need to do it. Things you might need to use a leash for. So you might want to, we're just walking around this way. Don't step on my pumpkins. Yeah, don't step on my pumpkins. Hi, Tequila. What are you doing? Whiskey's following us, but he's very slow. So, things you might want to use the leash for. You might want to put your pup on a leash to train. There's Tristan. But you might want to put your dogs on a leash to train. Sorry, I'm having a brain freeze because I'm watching 3 dogs. But you might want to put them on a leash so you can train them around your livestock or your birds. That's important. Shadowfax was loose again. Just so everybody knows. Yeah, it was my fault. Whatever. We don't talk about that. You also might need to use a leash to go to the vet or groomer, unless your livestock vet handles your dogs. Ours will. But, if you have to go in for neutering or spaying, you still may need a leash. If you're going to travel with your dog, they need leash training. Or if you're going to be introducing your dogs to new animals, you might need a leash. So leash training is important. Not everyone trains their livestock guardian to the leash, but we do. I recommend it, but it may not apply to your specific situation. Another skill that may not apply, house training. Also known as potty training. Again, I did a video on that too. So I'll link to that one in the video description. This is not something everybody's livestock guardian needs to know. We're playing. So, for example, his parents, Vodka's parents, never, ever went inside a house. So they really didn't need it. But if you're ever going to bring your dog inside, you definitely want to house train them. They don't want to go as far as Tequila. They're a little slower. The boys are a little bit slower, so they're waiting for her to come back before they do anything. It's pretty funny. Okay, so house training. We obviously potty train because they come inside all the time. They're often inside with us because, we love them and we want them to be inside with us because that's the way we roll. But if yours never come in, it might be irrelevant. It also translates pretty well to the barn, actually. Okay, because if your dog knows not to pee in the house, they probably won't pee in the barn. So, yeah, think about it. But it may not apply in your situation. This is kind of one of those, not sure. Crate training. Again, if your dog never comes inside, you may not have use for it unless you have a crate for them in the barn. I don't crate train. Okay, but it is useful if you're not around a lot, especially when they're young. And if you're going to potty train, it can be really helpful. The other kind of related skill to that is place training. So instead of a crate, you use like a mat or, yes, you're going to play with him. You use a mat or you might use, a dog bed, something like that, whatever, something like that. It doesn't matter. Yeah, we're just going to follow Vodka. Oh, he's going to lie down. He's such an entertaining boy. So energetic, Vodka. So fantastically energetic. Okay, Tequila is over here hanging out by the picnic table. So Tequila's over there. Fancy, fancy puppy. She's playing with the cat. But Mr. Vodka here is hanging out on the ground. Because, you know, that's the way vodka rolls. Right, Tequila? That's right. So, anyway, you might want to teach a place command so that if you're in the house, your dog goes to his mat or his dog bed. Or if you're outside, you might want to have a place command so that your livestock guardian knows where to go when you want him to go somewhere. Tequila's still over there. She's going to the fire pit. She's nuts. Right, Tequila? Good girl. The little guy. He's learning to be around the horse and the goats. So, you know, and also to bite shoes. It's lots to learn, including biting shoes. So there's Arwen. So he's just learning, right? Just hanging out. The final skill that I do not teach, I don't need it, but you might, depending on your dog and your situation, is muzzle training. I don't do it, okay? I don't need it, but there's nothing wrong with a muzzle. A muzzle is for your safety and their safety, really. So muzzle training can be helpful if you're worried that your dog is not fully socialized. In case if you're worried that he might kind of freak out in a situation. If you have any aggressive tendencies at all, you might want to use a muzzle. Or if they're nervous in certain situations, so some dogs wear a muzzle at the groomer because they don't really like getting groomed, and so they're overly nervous. There's Tequila again. You might want to use a muzzle there. Or if you are in an area where people are kind of afraid of larger dogs, right, Tequila? And you take your dog for walks off the property, a muzzle is not a bad thing, just for your own protection, because sometimes people are idiots and it's not necessarily you or your dog's fault, but completely preventing your dog from biting could prevent a tragic incident. So sometimes a dog, like any dog, will bite if provoked enough or if bothered enough. Any dog, it doesn't matter. So if you're in an area where you take your livestock guardian for walks off property and you're at all concerned that they might encounter people or a situation that might make them uncomfortable, you know, if you have children that tend to run up to dogs on a walk, or if you have a lot of people who have their dogs off leash and they come running up to your dog, if your dog is wearing a muzzle, they absolutely cannot bite, and it means that they absolutely cannot get in trouble for biting. So again, depending on your situation, you might need muzzle training. Like we literally, I mean, we don't have people. So muzzle training for us is not helpful. We don't need it. None of our dogs are particularly aggressive. They don't really do anything. He's eating a piece of lettuce because, you know, that's the way puppies roll sometimes. He took a piece of lettuce from the lettuce pile for the chickens. Don't ask. Right. So Tequila's now in the vinyl shed because she can be, and she's, for some reason, got a mouthful of hay. We don't ask, please. But yeah, so muzzle training can be really helpful, and it can even save your dog's life. So if you are in a situation where that might be helpful, it is not a bad idea to train your dog to the muzzle so that if they have to wear it, they can. Hi, Tequila. Right, so again, muzzle training. A dog wearing a muzzle is not a bad dog. It's usually a sign of a responsible owner who takes things seriously, okay? Most people who have super aggressive dogs say their dogs are fine dogs and don't put a muzzle on them anyway. So generally, if you see somebody with a muzzle on their dog, that's a good dog owner, and they're just being responsible and protecting their own pet. So do you need to muzzle train? That's up to you. I don't, just because, I mean, literally, we even if we take our dogs for walks off property, across the road there's off property. There's nothing. There's nobody. Okay? They don't counter anyone, and I'm not going to put a muzzle on them when they're defending the property from coyotes. I'm not going to do that. So for us, it's not really a useful skill. It would be if I lived in the city or if I lived in a more populated area. Okay, so there's Tequila over there again. Yeah, so I don't muzzle train. You can, and maybe you should. It's all about what situation you are in. So, those are the 4 skills you might need with your livestock guardian dog if they apply to your situation. So, just to recap, that's leash training, potty training, crate or place training, and muzzle training. Those are skills you might need. If you don't, that's fine, because they don't apply to everyone. A couple of those don't apply to us at all. Like, I don't do place training anymore because of where we live, and I don't do muzzle training, again, because of where we live. It's irrelevant for our dogs. But I do the first 2 because they are relevant to our dogs. So just think about what you might want to get out of these particular skills, and if you think those skills will be useful, definitely train your dog. That's about it for us here at Anderson Acres. We'll see you tomorrow.